Happy New Year, everybody. Hope everybody's had a great 2024 so far. I wish you and your family the best of health and a lot of happiness going forward this year. And for everybody, I hope there's a lot of big goals that you guys have, pushing out of comfort zones, all that kind of good stuff that you know we're about. So I'm very proud to say that we were very consistent for the last part of 2023. And I want to continue adding value in my thoughts as much as possible, as well as bring you some of the best guests. So for me, I just got back from the US. For those of you who follow me on social media, you know that I run a nonprofit organization for talented, many times underprivileged girls called the Strive Goal Team. And currently, we are very fortunate to have two girls from Hong Kong playing in the US, and they're doing very well. And my wife and I were able to spend some time with them, spend 10 days with them, listen to all the goods and the struggles that they may have, because coming from Hong Kong or China, there's a lot of cultural differences. There's a lot of differences in the classroom, differences on the basketball court. And so getting to understand where and how much they like it is great. And thankfully, they both love the US and have made a lot of good friends and play a lot of good basketball. And so that will continue. And being in the US, I was able to catch up with some coaching friends and kind of get a general gist of what a lot of coaches are talking about. Now, dealing with young adults and teenagers, one of the big topics for me was that you hear all the time is mental health. And that's something that didn't really resonate with me until recently, because I'm very fortunate. I have my ups and downs, but I'm able to get through it very quickly, largely because of the people around me, because I am on the path that I feel like I should be on. And I'm just very fortunate. And I know that, it's not like that for everybody. And so I'm here to help. And this is a topic that I feel like our world of basketball, being such a macho world, doesn't talk about a whole lot. And it's starting to more and more, but it needs to be talked about more widespread, especially in the Asian culture, because in our culture, we're taught to be, we hold things in. Where if something bad happens to us, we don't show emotion. And at the end of the day, if we do that, it's just a recipe for disaster. And so on my way back from the US, I really was able to sit down and think about a couple of things on, if I had a child of my own, well, I do have kids, these are my players, what I would tell them to do in terms of being a basketball player and taking care of your mental health. And I have three things that I'm going to be talking about today that I believe are paramount when it comes to athletes of any kind and their mental health, especially athletes who take their sport very seriously. So number one, we've talked about this before, is identity. And what I mean by that is who we feel like we are when we're by ourselves, right? How do we look at ourselves? Who are we? Why are we here? Why do we do what we do? And a lot of athletes who are very serious about their sport, they identify as a basketball player, which is fine, right? Where it gets not so fine is when you tie your identity to the result every time. So you tie yourself to the identity when you win. So when you win, you're on this massive high, and it's ecstatic and you're in ecstasy, and you're on top of the world, which is great, right? But on the flip side of things, when you tie your identity to the result and may not come out as a good one, which in elite sports is going to happen more often than we like, then there's a big problem, right? There's a big problem. Staying balanced, not feeling like your world is crumbling when you don't play well, or your team loses, or things are going wrong, right? Your identity should be stronger, everyone, than just being a basketball player. And that's okay to identify yourself as a basketball player. I'm a basketball player, but I'm also other things. I'm also a student. I'm also a business owner. I'm also many, many different things. And it's important that we don't tie our identity to just one thing. And it's important that we don't tie our identity to every single result That is super important. And if you don't really understand what I was saying, then rewind this and re-listen to it, because I mean, identity is just one of the most important things, and it's our ability to not get too high and not get too low. So that's the first one. Second thing, and this is for serious athletes, is reflection, journaling. Actually, I have my journal right here. I have about 40 of these. This is my basketball journal. I have journals, diaries. As a matter of fact, this is my journal. I write my schedule every day. But there needs to be a different journal, which you record your thoughts and feelings, where something happened and you write it down. That exercise is one of the most powerful and healthy things that you can do. I would say that writing, especially if you can with a pen, for some reason, is one of the best therapists in the world, because there's nobody who is going to understand you better than you. And we're still on a daily mission to understand ourselves better. So when we write, something happened today, I feel like this. Even maybe it's I ate something today and now I feel like this. I feel really bad because I ate a lot of sugar. And oh, there you go. There's this pattern that's occurring because you ate a lot of sugar. Or even you may be like, I am feeling depressed. What did I eat? What happened? Nothing happened. Then if nothing happened that is too drastic, let's check your nutrition. These are things that we need to document and record in order to better understand ourselves. Okay. So reflection, and then being able to let go and not hang on to things. And I'm very bad at this. So as I'm talking to you guys, I'm also learning myself, because I am far from perfect, right? I'm very far from perfect. Letting go, especially for me, days that I might have arguments with loved ones, staff, players, teammates, people who are close to me, hits me especially hard, and I take it a little bit personally, but coming up with a solution rather than just stewing on it, but also letting go of things that we don't want to remember, whether it's a bad game, whether it's a bad conversation that we had. That ability to let go and move on to the next thing is very important. Some people are better than others, and I'm trying to improve on this daily. Last but not least, I think I've said this before as well, but this has never really rung this loudly in my head. And this is something that I was very bad at when I was taking basketball seriously as a player, is find hobbies. Find hobbies and interests outside of basketball. You will, in fact, become a better basketball player or athlete or whatever it is that you are if you find something is completely unrelated to whatever you're passionate about. And the reason is that there's a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. I highly suggest that you buy it. The last habit that they have of highly effective people is sharpen the saw. And that means that if you're sawing trees all day long, your blade is going to get blunt. And when it does, you will not be able to work as effectively. I'm speaking slowly so everybody can kind of catch up and absorb. But rather, spending time on sharpening that saw will allow my efforts to be that much more potent and effective. And being away from what you love the most and allowing yourself to miss it will actually allow you to become better, because you'll be able to give more effort, number one. But number two, when your coach talks to you about things, it's important to reflect. I just mentioned reflection. It is important to reflect. And the reason is when you do something on the court or whatever it is that you do, and someone gives you critical feedback. So that's the coach's job, is to give you constructive criticism, right? You don't get better in that instant. You don't get better in that instant because you are in live play, right? In real time. But you get better when you reflect and meditate on what happened before, so that your brain can catch up to your body. And having hobbies outside of basketball, let's be honest, if you're a serious player, you're always thinking about it. But having hobbies outside of basketball will allow you to reflect on what you did on the court. So the grind, all that kind of stuff, like 24/7. I'm also guilty of this. This is called No Off-Season Podcast. But having no off-season doesn't mean that you're only doing that thing, basketball. It means that you have a significant amount of time where you are getting better at other things, because it's important to grow as a human being and be a well-rounded person and find interests outside of the beautiful game of basketball. Because at the end of the day, that will make you a better player. So I'm going to go through this one more time for mental health. And by no means am I a mental health expert. I would love to learn from professionals, you guys, and your experiences. Number one, identity. Don't tie your identity to the result. That's a dangerous thing. Number two, reflect, journal, let it go. Learn from it. Number three, sharpen the saw. Find habits outside of basketball. It will allow you to be the best player that you can possibly be. I'll see you guys next week.